folks, and welcome to another Saturday Morning Samoflange. I'm Matt, and I'm by myself. Looks like for the whole month. Yeah, coronavirus. Have to get over it. Or stay-at-home orders. I don't want to get anyone in trouble by asking them to come over, even though I doubt they would. I would go out. I'm just saying. But anyway. Oh well. So this is one that I've been wanting to do, and I've been wanting to do with friends. There's a lot of friends who've been interested in it. But, oh well, it's just going to be me. And this is a nice one. This is a fun one. This is one I thought about a while back. It is my favorite, the movies that I love. I shouldn't say favorites, because they're not my favorites. But I didn't mind them. I didn't think they were bad movies. And a lot of people, most people that would be, do think these are bad movies. So that's what this is going to be. The top 5 movies that I like that everyone else generally hates. Now, if you're one of these people who like these movies, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you hate them, that's fine. No surprise there. So, here we go. Number 5 is John Carter of Mars. Yeah, the Disney flop. It tanked. It was, everyone hated it. In fact, when it came out in theaters, I had no desire to see it. I was like, no, I don't want to see that garbage. And I remember my dad, who had actually rented it, and said, "Have you seen John Carter of Mars?" It's like, no, because something like that would possibly suck. And he said, "Well, it's really good. You should try it out." So I was like, "Oh, all right." So I decided to rent it, and I wasn't expecting that much, and absolutely loved it. This is a great film. If you never watched it because you just heard that it was bad, you should try again, especially if you like, how do I want to say this, odd sci-fi? I don't know, unique sci-fi. If you like Stargate the movie, it was kind of weird, right? Egyptians and the the premise was aliens built the pyramids, which, the crazies would always say. Well, this kind of put in perspective. Aliens building the pyramids. And I remember thinking the whole time, this is such a weird story, but I like it. I'm intrigued. And I thought the same thing of John Carter of Mars. I really did enjoy the story much better than I thought I would. And it's a fine film. Now, I don't know. They said that it's supposed to be called The Princess of Mars, because that's what the series is based off of. The book was. The movie was based off the book Princess of Mars, but Disney didn't want to put princess in the title, so they just called it they just called it John Carter, I think, or I don't know. Anyway, it was a terrible name for a sci-fi movie. They probably should have gone with Princess of Mars, but woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? I didn't want to go because I didn't know anything about it. Now, I know it's Edgar Rice Burroughs' set of novels and series of novels. And actually, this movie got me to read them all. I think there were 15 adventures. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I think there are 15 of them. And I read each and every one after this was over. I mean, this movie inspired me to read his books. I mean, I was that enthralled with the movie. Again, it's this one's not even an okay movie. This is a pretty solid movie. I want to watch it again. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's great. If you don't know John Carter, it's during I think it's right after the Civil War, and he in the TV show. This is how old science fiction was made. You'd walk into a cave, feel a funny feeling, then walk out and you're on Mars. You're like, wait, what happened? I don't know. It was kind of magic or mystical. Trip to Mars, since spaceships didn't exist, they didn't know how much you could get there, I guess. But the movie is actually pretty good. So if you've heard anything of it or you've never seen it before, I would definitely give this a shot. Now, I want to also add that I do not have any honorable mentions. I mean, I thought about, I think these 5 movies came to me off the top of my head, and I tried to think of others, and I just couldn't. And so, not to say there's no more. There could be more. It's just that I stopped thinking about it. And if it pops up in my head at the very beginning, without me having to really think hard about it, then obviously it belongs in my top 5. And I wrote these down, not in order, but John Carter was the last one I wrote down. I'm looking at my piece of paper here. I kind of numbered them differently, but John Carter has a 5 marked by him, and he's at the bottom of this list. So that's kind of how I kind of did this list. And by the way, if we did have a host, I was going to predict 0 crossover. I think this is such a unique category that I think we all have movies that we love that other people just hate. But I'm talking about the standard majority of people hate. So here we go. Number 4, Jurassic Park 3. I remember when this movie came out. I was excited to see it like everyone else, I think, back in the day. We still weren't tired of Jurassic Park. You know, the early 90s, it kicked off the Jurassic Park fever. Now this is getting in the late 90s, yet Jurassic Park's still in our minds. And it was fun because the main guy from the first one was coming back, and you were excited about that. For some reason, they couldn't get Jeff Goldblum, which I was very disappointed. I was like, what? Why didn't he come back? And then later on, I would only figure it out. Well, Spielberg wasn't involved. You know, Joe Johnston directed this movie. And so Spielberg, I think, was one of the producers or whatever, but that doesn't mean anything. He didn't direct it, and it wasn't based off of a novel because they asked Michael Crichton to write a third Jurassic Park novel, and he was like, no, I've done what I did. That Lost World and Jurassic Park were the only two ideas I had, and I'm ready to move on. And to be honest, I remember when I first saw Jurassic Park 3, I said, this is better than Lost World. That's how much I enjoyed it. Now, since then, I've changed my mind. I think Lost World is a better film. But I like Jurassic Park 3. And if anyone has ever read the books, Michael Crichton's books, first off, Jurassic Park and Lost World are excellent books. They're better than the movie. I remember my dad was, he would read us, we watched the movie Jurassic Park, he wanted to read us the book. And we're like, Dad, come on, it can't be better than the movie. The movie's the best thing in the world. He's like, oh, come on, book's always better, book's always better. I was like, oh, I don't know. And so he started reading the book to us, and he's right. The book is by far better than the movie. And I love the movie, but the books are just great. Even Lost World is a great novel. And it seems that Jurassic Park 3, and even Spielberg admitted this, Jurassic Park 3 was all the deleted things that they couldn't bring out from Michael Crichton's books. What the writers did is they basically, this is why they had to go back to the world, the kid that gets lost, that's the hook for them to, you know, that he's the MacGuffin, I guess, the kid that gets lost. But without him, you take away him, and you change the names of some of the characters, it is, scene for scene, a lot of the stuff that you saw in the first, or read about the first two Jurassic Park books. They just conglomerated a bunch of scenes. Spielberg said he took some of these scenes out because due to time and, you know, expense, like the pterodactyl scene and stuff. That was supposed to be in the first one. And this, I can't remember what the name of the dinosaur is. It's not a T-Rex. And you're thinking, why can't it be a T-Rex? Why'd they go with this different type of dinosaur? Well, in the book, it was a T-Rex that was following in the water. It was constantly just go. The T-Rex just wouldn't let them go. The guy and the kids, you know, were being constantly followed by this T-Rex everywhere they went. So they basically just changed the storyline. Now, putting the main character back in made it easier. They had a, you know, kind of like a beacon there to kind of build the story around. So I can say, okay, well, here's what Alan was doing during, you know, the first novel here, so we can just put the character in here and do the same storyline again. But it didn't seem like a hodgepodge of stories. Now, I hadn't read the books back then. And, oh no, well, my dad had read one to me. I think he'd read one. I don't know if he read Lost World to us. He may have read that too. Never mind. So maybe he'd already read both to us. I'm remembering this as I move along, folks. But anyway, I guess he read both of them to us by then. And so, but I didn't really recognize that those were deleted scenes from the books until I'd reread them. And it was like, oh, wait a minute. All this stuff was in Jurassic Park 3. And so going back through and watching them through again, when Jurassic World came out, I think Megan and I watched all 3. And I watched the first 2, and I was like, oh, there we go. Those are great. And then I watched 3, and I was like, oh, 3's probably not going to be as good. You know, it's that sucky one. But I really enjoyed 3. It is a step down from 2. 2 is a step down, a big step down from 1. But then 3 is another step down from 2. And so I knew that, and I was like, but still, this is just intriguing to watch. You know, all these deleted scenes come together as one coherent. I thought the story wasn't bad either. It didn't feel like it was all cobbled together either. And then we watched Jurassic World, which I think is inferior to Jurassic Park 3. I do. I don't think Jurassic World is as good a movie as Jurassic Park 3 is. Jurassic Park 3 is still my favorite movie out of any of the Jurassic Worlds, because the last one that came out was even worse. And if they make a third one, which I know they will, it's somehow, I don't know how, but it's going to be worse than the second Jurassic Park movie. Those movies just take a step down the more they come out. I was excited about Jurassic World, and then it came out, and I am not excited about any more sequels for that movie. That was garbage. Jurassic Park 3 is fine. That's fine. If the trilogy would have ended that way, I'd have been happy with it. But I am a Jurassic Park 3 fan. Offhand, I even got the board game for Jurassic Park 3. They made a board game for all 3 Jurassic Parks. The first one, just to let you know, if you don't want to watch my reviews, the first one is kind of generic. I think you're taking out cards and you're moving spaces. And whenever you're trying to get from one space to the other. And the thing is, though, everyone's moving dinosaurs on you, a T-Rex or Velociraptors. But they don't eat you. They either just stop your movement or force you onto another square. And it's like, well, why don't they eat you? By the way, the Jurassic Park game can play like 9 players. What? How popular do they think this movie was going to be? Well, I guess 9. It was a very popular movie, but 9 players? You can play 9 people, and the board's huge. I just don't know how you can get 9 people around it still. I mean, that's a lot of people. Getting 8 people around that thing would be huge. 9 people, you'd have to share the table and go back and forth. But I remember it had 9. You could play to 9 players. It's like, that's weird. But it wasn't that good. And then Lost World looked a lot better. It had these. It's hard to pack and unpack because it has all these cheap cardboard. I mean, not solid ones, but the bendy, breaky, if it gets wet, we're screwed cardboard pieces for buildings. And you're moving away, trying to get away from Velociraptors. The setup, the game mechanisms are a little bit better. The T-Rex is just walking in a direct line toward your temple. You're trying to get all these people out. You're in charge of a handful of people. And, well, you're either playing as the people or the dinosaurs. Or the raptors, I should say. And then you're getting, you're trying to get to the helipad. And it is so geared toward the Velociraptors, it's ridiculous. It's so overpowered. Because the dinosaurs are going to win every time, unless someone makes a stupid mistake. Like I said, I played my little nephew when he was like 6 or something, and even he beat me with the dinosaurs, because he's not dumb. I think the only time I won, someone made a dumb mistake and did not see that some of my men over to the corner of a building. And they weren't, because they could have killed them all, and I thought they were. But they moved on. I was like, shut up. And I got all 3 of them to the helipad. That would never happen again. But, so the game is kind of, broken in that way. And Jurassic Park 3 is broken in the same exact reason, but opposite. The adults are way too hard to kill. I think they take 6 or 5 hits. I can't remember. There's a lot of hits they have to take from dinosaurs, which the second one didn't have that. And maybe they were it seems like they were trying to correct their last move from Lost World and put it more in the humans' favor, because you want the humans to win. But now it's impossible to, in Jurassic Park 3, you can't win as the dinosaurs. It's impossible. Impossible to win as the dinosaurs. So there's a cheap way or a quick way to fix that. It's just to take away a lot of the life tokens from all the humans, like put them in half or, barely there. But you can find a balance at least for 3. And I guess if you wanted to say hit points on guys for Lost World, that would maybe balance that game out too. And, well, for that reason, the first board game could also be done a little bit like that, where you had hit points as well, just not as many. So I guess all 3 of them won't be bad. Now, the pieces look great. They got dinosaur pieces. I got them from Megan for Christmas one year. This is back when Jurassic World came out. I think she was big back in. She's always been big in Jurassic Park, but she was like, just loving Jurassic Park all of a sudden. And so I got her the board games. We play them. The only time I play the board games now is when her nephew comes over, and he always wants to play the dinosaur games, he calls them. And so we'll play the dinosaur games together, and he loves it. He loves being the dinosaurs, win or lose, even though I let him win, or I tell him he won, even though I may have won just to end the game, because it kind of takes too long with him. Anyway, I am rambling. This is what happens when there's only me here. If there are 2 people here, you notice I don't talk as much. I just say what I want to say and then let the other person talk. But when it's just me, you got to ramble. All right, so that's number 4, Jurassic Park 3. Number 3 is Terminator Salvation. I hear this movie gets so much hate, and I wonder if it does now, because now we have Dark Fate that's come out. I couldn't even watch Dark Fate. I tried for the first 5-10 minutes. I couldn't get into it. I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't do it. What was it? Terminator Genesis was such an awful movie. Such an awful movie that just ruined my love of it. And everyone says, well, man, I think Terminator Salvation was just as bad. Actually, no. By the way, I almost put Terminator 3 here, too, because I like Terminator 3 as well. I didn't think Terminator 3 was bad. I thought it was like a cheap version of Terminator 2, which is arguably the best, even though 1 is really close for me for being number 1. But I guess I'd put Terminator 2 as my number one Terminator, then Terminator as number 2, and then a big step down would be Terminator 3. And then right behind it, though, is Terminator Salvation. People hated this film, but I loved it, and I thought that was the great direction of where these films should go because, folks, they'd done it all with time travel. I was getting tired of, we got to kill John Connor, we got to kill Sarah Connor, we got to kill, the John Connor just keeps getting older and older. So in Jurassic Park 3, when the end of the world, spoiler alert, when the end of the world happens, or when, Cyberdyne takes over, now we're getting to Salvation, where, John Connor's older, he's more rugged and everything, played by Christian Bale, pre-Batman there. I thought he was a perfect pick for John Connor, and I thought the movie was great. I was like, this is what we need. We need the futuristic, Armageddon battle. And it was supposed to be a trilogy of 3 films, and of course, since it bombed in theaters, people like time travel, I guess. No, I think people were just tired of Terminator at this point. They waited forever to get 3 out, and then when 3 came out, people were kind of disappointed by it. So when Terminator Salvation comes out, people are basically done. And Arnold was just I think he was new governor of California, or recent governor. Now he did make a special CGI appearance in Terminator Salvation. But Salvation was actually really good. I remember loving that film and wanting to hear more. In fact, I stopped collecting. I have all the Terminators up to Salvation. Genesis is not worth my time. I thought that movie was absolute garbage. And even the TV show I really loved. Although I don't know if that's that controversial. I think a lot of people were enjoying that TV show. But which kind of tied into the movies. But that's another topic. I'm sure Bruce and I have done a Terminator podcast on Prince of the Universe before, so you can check it out then. It's probably in our early days of going through each sci-fi venue. But anyway, Terminator, the Salvation, I like that they weren't time traveling anymore. I like that they were just talking about John Connor in the battle. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the victory get won. Maybe you could see the first Terminator go back, and maybe you could see a young, a Kyle Reese. They CGI him and get him the actor to look young again and send him back in time. Maybe that's just part of a movie there. And then there's other things too, other things just to match up with what happened in Terminator 2 and Terminator 3. But maybe he's going back and remembering good old days with his mother. I don't know. You could even have Sarah Connor come back, or she could be in the movie later on. I don't think she was in Salvation. I don't think Linda Hamilton was a part of Salvation, but she could have come in later on just to put some makeup on her, make her look a little bit older. She would have been way more active than she was in Dark Fate, or so I hear. But anyway, I just think that Terminator Salvation has so much potential to be good. It was so much refreshing that we weren't going back in time anymore to present day for when the movie was coming out. I'm glad it was taking place in the future, but no one else was happy about that. So that movie got panned, and they decided to go with Terminator Genesis, which was even worse. And I think a lot of fans would admit that now. But Terminator Salvation, of course, it's not my favorite of the series, but it's not a bad part of the series. I mean, it got a spot on my DVD shelf, something that's very hard to do these days. I very rarely buy DVDs. And I've always been that way. If I buy a DVD, it's a movie that I want to see more than once. I know I'll want to see more than once. And so Terminator Salvation, I will want to watch that again when I'm watching through all the Terminators. That's going to happen. All right. So my number 2 is probably the most controversial for a lot of fans of the series of these movies that have come out. So that's why I put it up so high. And I think in general, people who aren't fans of the series of movies would even say this movie sucks. But I absolutely loved it. Back in 1998, the best Godzilla film ever came out. That's right. The one with Matthew Broderick. That is such a, Jurassic Park ripoff, especially at the end when they're running away from baby Godzillas, meaning aka Velociraptors and stuff. It was obviously, after all the Jurassic Park movies had run through. Jurassic Park 3 had already been done. The studios were scrambling for anything that resembled a dinosaur because they dinosaur fever, baby. It wasn't over yet. But the 1998 Godzilla, and I love Godzilla. I love Godzilla movies. I watch them all the time. I hate the other two, the last two that come out. They are so boring. You don't care anything about the human characters. Where in this movie, I would argue that you care about all the human characters in a way. At least you feel something for each one. You feel connected to each one. And I think that the 1998 version did a really good job of that, whereas the other ones, the other versions of Godzilla that came out afterwards, there weren't that many afterwards, but the ones afterwards, you don't care about any of the human characters. And it's not about the humans, it's usually about the monster, right? But in this one, I felt was both. Now, I also like the look of Godzilla. A lot of people hated Godzilla. What did you do to Godzilla? You turned him into a dinosaur. Well, yeah, because Jurassic Park was big back then. But I didn't mind that either. And the cool thing about this Godzilla, and he looks radically different than any Godzilla, but the thing is, the cool thing about him was that they hid. And this is back in the day when it was hard. I mean, it's even harder now with the internet. But the internet was around, albeit very light. But to hide the image of what Godzilla was going to look like they would tease you. I remember Puff Daddy's music video. That's another thing. Man, that music video was great, right? Come With Me. Oh, it was great. It was such a great, I can't remember Jimmy, oh gosh, I can't remember his name, was doing the guitar, and Puff Daddy or P. Diddy, or I think his name still was Puff Daddy back then, was doing the rap. That song is still awesome. In fact, I need to see if that song is on Amazon Unlimited, because I want to start listening to that one. That is a great song. But in the music video, you never get to see him. You get to see his foot or something, you get to hear his roar, but you never get to see him. And I remember there was a Taco Bell commercial, and this is back when the Taco Bell dog was still around, and the Taco Bell dog is, trying to trap Godzilla, and he's like, "Here, lizard, lizard, lizard." It's a great commercial, man. He's got a taco underneath a cardboard box that says Godzilla, I think. I mean, the marketing for this was great. They didn't release the toys until the day of. So even the toys, you couldn't even see what Godzilla looked like. And so everyone wanted to know what Godzilla looked like, and they kept that image from leaking. That is, even in 1998, that was a huge achievement back then, because there were tons of people trying to figure out, Godzilla's huge. We're going to get another Godzilla movie? Great. What's he look like? We want to see him. And no one got to see him until they came out. I remember I went to the stores that day because I could not wait. And I went and looked at Godzilla. I was like, oh, man, he's awesome. And I was telling my buddy about it. But that's back before, cell phones were really cameras. Or if they were very pixelated. And you couldn't send a picture to someone. But I remember telling him all about it and going, oh, dude, it looks so awesome. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go up there today and I'm going to buy one. And we were so excited. And I thought the movie was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very funny. Obviously, it's late 90s. It says some things you cannot say. It's too insensitive these days. They use the R word a lot in it. Back then, that wasn't a bad word. And a few more words, if I remember right. I can't remember. I was like, whoa. So, words you can't say today, but you could say back then in 1998. And but other than that, though, it was just such a fun film. Now, wildly enough, they also came up with a board game for this. It was a Play-Doh board game where you're a Play-Doh tank, a van, a car, or a airplane, a jet, and you're trying to make it through this town of 3D, cardboard buildings, and trying to get to the finish line. Sounds easy, but whenever you roll, you're rolling a die and moving that amount of spaces. But whenever you roll a Godzilla face comes up, then you got to take out a Godzilla card and take out a Godzilla masher, and he mashes down anyone on that color, or side or whatever. It is such a fun game because the smasher is this big Godzilla piece, and the Godzilla piece will leave his footmarks on the Play-Doh tank, and the tanks are the best one to play with. But all the Play-Doh vehicles. But if you ever play this game, first off, get the game, it's great. But I'll always play with the tanks because they feel the best when they're getting smushed. But I never knew about this game. And sadly enough, I never even thought to look about it, because sometimes my favorite movies, favorite TV shows, every once in a while, it seems like I'm always shocked when there's a board game about it, like Storage Wars. When the girls were born, I was watching Storage Wars nonstop. And then I thought, because they slept a lot when they were newborns. And then I thought, hey, did they ever make a Storage Wars game? And they did, and I love that game. I was like, shut up. And I never think like that. I said, what else do they make? I remember watching 300 and found out they made a 300 board game. Bought that too. It's a fun game. And then when I went online and a friend of mine was showing me that they have a Godzilla game, I was like, that must be mine. I bought it immediately without even thinking about it. Bought it immediately and absolutely loved that game. I thought it was so fantastic and so fun. I've always wanted a Play-Doh game too, so that kind of scratched that itch there. So, hey, you know what? Some of these movies have board games. I don't know if John Carter of Mars does, and Terminator I'm sure does, but I'm sure I don't care either. Anyway, all right, so the last one, and I kept this one as last because it's a superhero movie that I really like that a lot of people didn't. And I recently, within like a couple of years ago, watched it again and still thought it was a good movie. Now, I'm not talking about Thor 2. A lot of people don't like Thor 2. I don't know why. I thought Thor 2 was a pretty solid film. I like Thor 2. But that's not as shocking as the one I'm going to give you. Spider-Man 3. Yes, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man series. Everyone loves to Dr. Octopus as their favorite one. For me, that is my least favorite of the series. Not trying to be argumentative here. I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy they took off his mask at the end, and everyone in New York's like, okay, you're not going to tell who Spider-Man is. And this was in the day of, early days of the internet. People would have shared those pictures all over the place. Gotten a picture of Spider-Man unmasked. I know why they did it for the movie. They did it for the movie reason because Tobey Maguire doesn't want to be in a mask the whole movie. I get that. But that everyone on the train sees him and they don't say anything or they don't make a big deal out of it. They don't tell reporters about, we saw Spider-Man's real face. Whatever. Baloney. And Dr. Octopus is not my favorite villain either. I thought the movie was okay. It was okay. It had its good parts. But to me, Spider-Man 3 is a better movie. Now, I think Spider-Man 1 from Tobey Maguire is the better one out of this trilogy here. But Spider-Man 3, sure, they screwed the pooch with Venom. Venom, terribly cast, terribly presented, not good. I mean, it's okay. It's okay, I should say. But there are some times where it's just cringeworthy. Now, flipping over to Sandman, though, did you notice that Sandman, his storyline is wonderful. He's beautiful. He's excellently portrayed. I can't remember the guy, Thomas Howell, I can't remember his name. But he is fantastic. He's fantastic in the role of Sandman. And it is so good. And because of that, and Tobey Maguire's good in it too. I mean, I just like Spider-Man 3. I think it's fun. Sam Raimi makes a good bubblegum film. Popcorn film to watch once and then you're done. But this one I actually really enjoyed. I thought Spider-Man 3 was a phenomenal movie. Now, I'm going to cheat and share because one of the co-hosts who was supposed to be here, he let slip. He didn't know the rule. The rule was we never talk about these top 5 until we get to the podcast. But he was so excited. He told me he had his number 1 and he thought it was really going to work. And he said, but it's a Spider-Man movie. I said, don't tell me. He said, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh man, is it Spider-Man 3? And so then I wanted it and I was like, okay, well, since you already told me it's Spider-Man, go ahead and tell me. And I was thinking, man, if he tells me it's Spider-Man 3, I'm going to give him a high 5. And I was going to let him know we both had the same number 1, which would be incredible. And he goes, the Spider-Man 2 from the Andrew Garfield series. He really likes that movie. And I wish, Blaine, if you're listening, you were here so I could tear that movie apart in front of you. The movie's awful. It's awful. It's so frustrating to watch those, what they call the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Anyway, the Andrew Garfield movies are, plot-wise, horrific. Character-wise, fantastic. I think Andrew Garfield played a fantastic Spider-Man. I think Gwen Stacy, I can't remember I never remember the actress's name. I thought she did a fantastic Gwen Stacy. I thought they nailed the characters and who they were. Just like, they struck out on everything else, though. Everything else. Lizard was okay. I was okay with the first one. There's a few missed opportunities. And in the second one, Electro is just awful. It's awful. It's like a Joker, circa 1989 Tim Burton. I fall into a vat of electric eels. Come on, man. Back in 1989, that'd have been fun. Now it just seems silly and goofy. But Electro, no good. No good. I do like how each Spider-Man movie keeps using different Spider-Man villains, though. That's kind of fun. But my favorite of all Spider-Man villains? The Vulture, by far. Michael Keaton rocked it. Okay, folks, so that is my top 5 movies that I liked that other people didn't. So let me know in the comments, are there movies that you loved that, a majority of us did not? And we'll see you next time on more Saturday Morning. I'm all by myself. Samoflange.